the 100-year storms. So it has a proposed 10x4 or 8x4 box culvert next to the existing 4x4 culvert. The drain in the service station that has the little grate, that we're going to take that out and replace it with a junction box. Is that okay? That's going to have a junction box that then goes to a 12x4 box culvert that goes out to the stone head wall. So the stone culverts have enough structural problems and hydraulic restrictions that we're just proposing taking the whole thing out and making it flow. We have 3 shallow box culverts going underneath Cemetery Road and raising the road there a little bit. There may be some other options that may be appropriate, but this way it would get all the water from the south side of Cemetery Road. There's a small wetland between the 2 culverts that we'd be preserving. There would be some regrading, but we're trying to limit wetlands impacts. And there would be some regrading at the channel on the downstream end. We're also calling for the gabion wall that's falling in and the concrete head walls along Route 64 to be repaired and replaced. There's a possibility in the upstream side of Cemetery Road for a nice little wetland mitigation area next to some parking that we just circled and said to be looked at in final design. And we're going to be making some recommendations to try and alleviate some of the resident storm drainage problems on the area south of our project area where they're having culverts and street drainage that are getting clogged. Some of that may be updating private drains under driveways. I don't know, but we'll take a look at that in a little bit greater extent in our final design. But that is our recommended design to alleviate the flooding in this area. And it would alleviate it for the 100-year storm with a little bit of extra capacity for climate change in the future. And there may be some opportunities further upstream to try some green infrastructure and try some infiltration that would help reduce runoff coming into the area. But this project area has real estate that's owned, road right-of-ways that's owned by the town. There's private areas and there's state right-of-way. So any green infrastructure upstream would need buy-in and support from multiple landowners. But we're going to try and provide the town with options to try and reduce some of the runoff. But this design would alleviate the damage that's going on out there now for the 100-year storm and for some greater storms. So it's a very robust design. So that's it. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Terry at St. John Town in Middlebury. What's the time frame on all of this? Do you have any idea, Terry?
Well, we are wrapping up our report now with NVCOG and they're submitting it to the DEP. I don't know what happens after that.
Yeah, after so the conclusion of this project is the 30% designs. This is a planning and design project. Grant sources will be identified and a grant narrative drafted for implementation funding, but that's not part of this project.
Yeah, but they could take our report and our cost estimates and things, and they could start with the grant list we have, start going for grants.
Absolutely.
Is there a time period where they have to wait for the DEP to review everything?
No, we're submitting it at the end of the month and then they're good to go.
So I guess we could be taking this and trying to turn it into additional state and federal funding this fall if you want for selectmen.
Well, I'd love that because this problem has been existing and only compounding itself over the last several years. It's a long-term problem for the area. And hopefully you could speed up this process and get some relief to these people because it's been a long time coming.
Okay.
I actually have a question. I'm actually the owner of the service station. And I guess my main question is there's a large drainage that goes right through my parking lot. What does that look like for my business?
Well, thank you, Mr. Gerso. That was when we looked at it, the stone box culverts that are there now, they are, some of them are not in really good shape underneath that little drain that's in your front parking lot when you get down there and can see them. So that's the bottleneck that's causing the flooding in your property right now. So this would all open that up and allow the 100-year flow and more to go underneath your parking lot, so it wouldn't flood your building or your parking.
Of course, yeah, no, I understand the approach to it. I guess I'm just curious, how would it affect my day to day, right? So say the project launches, number one, I had a question about buying support from landowners. Like, am I gonna be responsible for any sort of funding to the project, considering it's on my property?
And that's a good question. That's really hasn't been discussed yet.
Yeah, I think we need to make clear again that this is very much the planning stage. There's no implementation happening yet, and that's not part of the scope of this project.
So this is Ron Knoll from Luke's. Assuming that the town has easements through your property for the drainage system. Typically what would happen is that the town would bid a public works project. And then implement that would be short-term impacts to your property. They would stage it so that they work on half of your parking area, install the culvert, pave that over, then remove and construct the second half. The finished product will be very much probably like you see now. You won't see much of it or any of it other than a couple of catch basins at the surface. But the box culvert is designed to carry traffic loads. It wouldn't diminish the use of your parking area typically. And the big bonus is that you wouldn't get flooded out in these more frequent storms.
And I see Paul Woodworth online.
Yeah, I have a question that I think will help clarify for the landowner. Well, actually, first the statement. So Brandon, no funding has been found yet for actual construction of this, and there's various sources out there. All of them come with different requirements for match and things like that. It would become a discussion with the town and you and the funding agency. What it'd be a matter of finding the right match to a funding source that would depend on how much the town would have to match and whether any sort of buy-in or any sort of match would have to be provided by the landowner. That varies widely from grant program to grant program.
Understood.
And then a quick question on Brandon's behalf. Is the proposed pipe change the elevation or grades of the parking lot as it is now?
There might be a little bit along the road because we had to pick up Cemetery Road a foot or so to get the cover over the culverts. I'd have to review that with the Public Works Director still and make sure he's okay with what we're proposing, because that isn't his road. But it would be much less likely to clog and flood his property than before, but we tried to match the grades in his parking lot as close as possible with the proposed designs. There would be disruption during construction, but he'd have a finished repaved parking lot when it was all done.
Thank you.
Ron, are you still there at St. John again?
Yes, I'm here.
Ron, one of the issues there you're dealing with Brandon's property is that the building is fixed. Kind of the grade that's there, if you were to raise any of that grade up, I think would create even a bigger problem for him. So the culvert, the elevation of the culvert at the top of it has almost got to stay where it is if you do new or reconstruct old. Otherwise, I don't know how he could get in and out of his building and what you do with the drainage at the time. So that's a little tricky spot right through that, because it runs the way it runs diagonally across Brandon's property there. And the grades are very tricky there because the building's existing. He has all, service bays along that side. So, and it's a fairly short distance from the center of the culvert to the entrance to those service areas. So it's a little tricky through there. So something that's going to have to be looked at.
Well, we're certain to note that, and a new precast concrete box culvert is more efficient than an old-fashioned stone wall with concrete slab. So we'll make sure that there's no change in grade to the gas station parking lot or the service station parking lot area. We selected the box culvert sizes accordingly, not to affect any change in the existing area.
I'm sure you'll take that into consideration, Ron, as, because of the grade issues that Brandon is dealing with there, so, anyway.
So noted. Thank you.
Yep. Very understandable.
Is there anyone else from Middlebury that had public comments?
I had a quick question, actually, about, I hadn't thought of this before, but, is there any opportunity for any, green infrastructure infiltration, kind of on the, in the drainage area leading down to Brandon's property? I'm looking at the map now, just up Route 64, there's not a lot of pavement, so I wonder if there is any opportunity, but there are a few parking lots, and I just wanted to throw that out there.
There is a, one that would be interesting, I think. I don't know how the DOT would like it, but there's some areas there where they've got along Route 64 where they've got drains that kind of parallel the Middlebury Greenway, and there's cross pipes that go into the stream that feeds down to here. And there's places that those drains where if the soil was good, you could actually do to convert those catch basins that are catching all that runoff into like rural rain gardens. But then the DOT would have to want to own and maintain them.
Right.
And I noted that there's further up on routes along the Middlebury Greenway as you go north on 64, there's actually some flower beds and things along the rain guard, along the greenway in the state right away. So I don't know who's maintaining all those flower beds, but if the
The town of Middlebury is.
Oh, it is? Okay. It
Yeah,
looked
we
very nice.
maintain all of that.
I mean, it looks very nice. So if something could get worked out, there actually, I think, are some opportunities to do a few little rain gardens. If nothing else, it would improve flow flows and water quality in the brook. But
Anything you can do to keep the water from going from the east side to the west side, which is causing the problem for Brandon. Okay, because it goes right over the road. That's where you somehow gotta cut down the volume of the water. I think, this will probably do fine, but somehow if you can cut the volume of the water going underneath Route 64, you'd be a godsend. I don't know how you're gonna do that, but whatever.
I did want to acknowledge a question in the chat from Rosalind. She asks, will the drains be fixed so water can flow? I think they'll be replaced.
yeah,
Right.
it's the one existing concrete box culvert is in good enough shape that it can stay and it could maybe have some repairs to it. All the rest of them are just, they'll be replacement. They're far enough along their service life and hydraulic deficiencies, they should just be easier to replace them and get in and out of there as quick as possible. So it's as least disruptive to the business and the adjoining property owners as possible.
And she's just commenting that she's at 1075 Middlebury Road.
That's one of the houses downstream. So, yeah, so I noted that, because that was some of the comments. So we're gonna look at that and make a recommendation. That may be a separate project, because a lot of that is in state right away. But it's something we can discuss with the DOT in the town. Yeah, it's true. 1075? Oh,
Do you think the flooding they're seeing along those driveways is overflow from these culverts overtopping and flowing down 64?
no, they have a separate
They have
issue.
separate
They have a
issue.
separate issue. They're getting runoff coming down from the watershed along North Street. And there's a 24-inch pipe that looks like originally this was designed to go into the 24-inch pipe, and it's not all getting there. And some of it's going to the neighbor's pipe downstream. It's getting into, I think it's a 12 or 15-inch pipe into the driveway. It's not big. And then it's going to another drain a couple hundred feet down the road, and that one may be undersized, and that's one of the ones that has the head wall tipping over like it's getting ready to fall over into the stream.
Okay.
So those drains date also from the 1930s, and they probably need to be updated. But that's something to discuss with District 4 at the DOT.
Last call for comments from Middlebury. All right, thanks to the new folks online that we just saw join us. I imagine you're from Thomaston, so we'll move on. Oh, Rosalind, did you have something to share? Sorry, okay.
It's okay.
So.
Yeah, the Thomaston project is Cables Lane and Strawberry Park. And it's on the west side of South Main Street, Route 6, going into downtown Thomaston. And there is chronic flooding at the top of the road. And we had met early on with the town staff and the first selectman to review the problems there. It ultimately drains down to the Naugatuck River, and it gets drainage from upstream from the hillside cemetery, drains down to the neighborhood. Next slide, please. And this is all photos and our early recon with the town officials, meeting with the first selectman. They had some culverts or drains that were clogged, and the public works crew was out cleaning those out. And this area is one where they've done repairs in the past, and the public works crew has replaced undersized culverts already on this road. During our due diligence, we found out that the descendant of the fellow who actually subdivided the road and built it, even made some of the early drain pipes out of old 55-gallon drums that he bolted together. And that's what washed out and was replaced by the DPW some years ago with a 24-inch HDPE pipe. Next slide, please. This is the street superintendent showing me areas where they had replaced it in the past. So they had wrapped a HDPE pipe at very shallow depths into that catch basin about midway down the hill. It flattens out right there. Cables Lane is very steep, but it flattens out at the bottom. There's a lot of flooding at the bottom where a small channel comes in, and the pipes just don't have a lot of room to store any water, and there's only one catch basin down there. And then it pitches across the South Main Street and goes down McMahon Drive past Condot District 4's maintenance headquarters. And the other photo is part of the ponds upstream where Hillside Cemetery has a couple of ponds they use for irrigation and ornamental purposes, and those drain down to the head of Cables Lane. Next slide, please. So we analyzed all the drainage and the watershed feeding into the system. It's almost 90 acres. It's not our largest area, but it's got a lot of old infrastructure in it that's undersized. The drainage down on the other side of Route 6 is in better shape. It's got some newer drains, but those past the 10-year flow, they're undersized for storms that are bigger than the 10-year flow. And the system outlets at a 30-inch pipe into the Naugatuck River. So we thought that if we could get the flow through there, we could, down to that portion, we could do something with the drainage to make it work better. Next slide, please. So again, this is one where we're supposed to use town mapping, but the town didn't really have any. We did research. We got a lot of support from the town, though. They gave us everything they had. The DOT was very helpful, and the Hillside Cemetery folks were very helpful. So we flagged the stream for wetlands and surveyed the pipes that are coming down there. A lot of them are blind, don't have any structures on them. And they come down a very steep grade. It's like 16 or 17% grade on the road coming down there, and there's rock. There's a lot of rock on the side of the road, so that's probably why the pipes are so shallow. But it ties into deeper drains down on South Main Street, and those go through an ATV sales parking lot before it reaches some other drains. There used to be a trolley track going through there, and a lot of the drainage follows the route of the old trolley tracks. Next slide, please. But once you get on further down McMahon Drive. The DOT's headquarters is to the south. The pipes get bigger, they get to be 30-inch size, they're all pitched pretty well. And they have a free outfall that drains easily down to the Naugatuck River. So that end of the system is in good shape. Next slide, please. In reviewing the upstream watershed, we looked at Hillside Cemetery. They don't really have a lot of areas that lend themselves to doing detention, and they're already pretty much all grass and woods. So, excuse me. I don't see huge potential there for doing detention, but there may be something we can work on with that. We did look at the areas where the town had done repairs in the past and the pipes seem to be working. They just don't have big enough pipes or deep enough pipes to carry the flows from upstream. Next slide, please. And as I said, Cables Lane itself is very steep, but in looking at the piping system further downstream, we thought there's a spot there on Route 6 where the existing pipe ties into that there's room to lower the pipe and put in bigger pipes and then tie into the DOT system down by District 4. Next slide, please. So what we're proposing is we broke this into 2 phases, and it's a little backward because normally you build everything from the downstream end up to the upstream end. In this case, we're going to start in the middle at Route 6 and tie in, replace the existing 24-inch line that's fairly high there with a lower 30-inch line and run that lower 30-inch line back up the hill to the head wall at the top of the road, stepping it down a little bit as we get up there. Because by lowering that and putting it in at the pipe in at better grades, we can get much better hydraulic performance and solve the flooding problems at the top of the road, middle of the road, and the bottom of the road. And we're adding extra catch basins along the road to correct the street flooding that's impacting some of the property owners. There may be a lot of rock in the excavation. There were no geotechnical studies with this report, but we estimated based on a lot of rock excavation. But if we can get down to the bottom, we can correct most of the flooding problems that we've seen out there. However, long-term, you really don't want to be discharging a 36-inch pipe into a 30-inch pipe. But in this case, we think it actually is doable. We want to talk with the DOT and the town about staging this, particularly if we may get grants in multiple grant rounds. We think this is the way to fix the most severe flooding in the neighborhood. Next slide, please. We have a phase 2 improvement where we're rebuilding the pipe that's downstream, because a lot of that, I forget when District 4 was built, but a lot of it used to be designed for the 10-year storm for DOT standards. You normally don't build street drainage to handle a 100-year flow, but if we update the 30-inch pipe to a 48-inch pipe down there and then step it to a 36-inch pipe back up to Route 6, we can get the whole system past the 100-year flow and a little bit more for long-term resiliency. So this is what we're proposing and recommending, and we just need to review the designs with the town and the DOT. But we think this is a very robust system that would alleviate a lot of flooding problems for Thomaston. And that's it, if there's any questions.
Okay, if I may, I'm at the top of Cables Lane. I'm probably the highest, I am the most highly elevated property. And I never noticed severe flooding on Cables or Strawberry Park. But listening, it makes sense that, the flow down Strawberry Park would be, because that is the steep road. So if I'm hearing correctly, you won't be doing anything coming from Hillside through the wetlands. It'll just be from the road down. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. We would be reconstructing the head wall. Are you on the right-hand side or the left-hand side as you go up the hill?
I'm on the right-hand side, the house up on top of the hill.
Right-hand side. Yeah, nothing would be near your house, your driveway. But the head wall that's right at the junction where the driveways split.
Right.
We'd have to rebuild that and lower the pipe there, so there'd be some work in the channel right there, just to sort of get the channel to flow into the new head wall. But it would be limited to that, it wouldn't be doing a lot of work in the woods around your house.
Okay.
I live on 6 Strawberry Park. That's the last house on the right at the top of the hill on Strawberry Park.
Okay,
That, as far as I know, the current drainage runs under my yard and under my driveway before it connects out farther. What I could see, I'm on my phone, unfortunately, but what I could see on the plans, it looks like the pipe is going to be going down the center of the road. Is that correct?
not quite the center, but yes, it's gonna be in the road, and we're basically trying to cut off the drainage that's going through your property. So, we'd have to review it with the town, but we would, block off the pipe that goes through your yard, and we're adding new catch basins at the top of the road. So even if there was a big flood or something got clogged, it wouldn't be the maintenance problem that existing drain next to your property is today.
Yeah, that's good news. The only other thing, you did mention it, there is an incredible amount of ledge in that road. The reason why the pipe goes under my property is because of the ledge.
Yeah,
So I know that you guys are making plans for it, but is there like a, what's the right word? Is there like a kind of call it quits moment where you realize that like completely reconstructing the road and hammering out on that ledge isn't feasible? And then I'm more worried. I don't care if you rip up my yard and my driveway to fix the pipe. I'd rather the pipe get fixed, but I just kind of want to prepare for that if that's the case.
Well, that's the purpose of going for the grants. I mean, we're trying to set this up, so we're picking the strongest, most robust solution to the problem, so it alleviates a lot of these recurring repairs the town has to do. And tries to alleviate any problems for the neighbors like yourself or the folks that live down at the foot of the hill. It will be a challenge to get the money, but we're working very hard with NVCOG to try and come up with different programs. Unfortunately, a lot of the funding programs are in flux right this minute, federal funding.
Of course, yeah, I understand.
Terry, I just wanna make sure, so the cost estimate you're generating for this project takes into account the fact that there's a lot of ledge?
Yeah, we assumed that
Right.
half the excavation for the pipes would be rock,
Okay,
not having a geotech report, but
Yeah.
using some educated judgment.
I heard, and I don't know if it would be in the plan, but, one of the other neighbors had heard or was, concerned about blasting. I mean, is that, obviously that I would think would not be something you could determine until you started digging.
Yeah, the next steps would be, is using the preliminary design we're doing to get funding for final design. As part of final design, there would be soil testing and borings where they determine exactly how much ledge is out there and how hard it is. And then it'd have to update the design for that and, the cost estimates for that, but there would be blasting.
Well, typically it would be in a road with adjacent houses, we ram it rather than blast.
Yeah, that would be another option, depending on what the rock is like, but.
Yeah, that
assume
ledge is,
that's what-
so blasting is a concern.
Okay.
Yes, I agree, Matt.
I appreciate you guys putting the work into this project. I think it's going to be helpful for my neighborhood. So I welcome it and I appreciate all your hard work.
I do think now would be a good time to remind, because I know a few people came in not at the top of the 6 o'clock hour. That this is a design project. We're producing 30% designs. We don't have funding for implementation or construction. That's outside our scope. So, none of the work we're talking about, it's all still hypothetical. None of it is imminent. So, but we obviously are advancing these projects, and we're in a better place than we were before we started. So just a friendly reminder.
Yeah, thank you for, yep. I work for the WPCA for the town, so I'm fully aware of the lack of funding and anybody wanting to do any right by the environment and water. So just wanted to make sure you guys knew your hard work wasn't going unnoticed. I really appreciate it.
Do we have anyone else online or in person who has comments about, or questions about the Thomaston project? Okay, so we would be a little early to move on to Waterbury, but, do we want to take a little break? And what do you guys think?
We got folks here from Waterbury. I mean, we could do it. We just might have to repeat some stuff.
Yeah.
Take a break.
So we advertised Waterbury starting at 7, but
Right.
this will take us past 7. So if we need to recap, if someone shows up, we can do it that way.
Great.
Take
Okay.
a break.
Huh?
Take a break.
You don't mind?
No, take a break.
Anyone else on virtually that's here for Waterbury?
It looks like Donna is our only participant at this time. But I guess the other folks were there for Thomaston.
Donna has been on since we turned the Zoom meeting on, which was several hours ago.
Okay, I'll just leave a message in the chat that says we're taking a 10-minute break, so.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Craig, if you want to mute us and turn us in. Hear me?
Yeah.
First Selectman Moan, are you able to hear me? Like he's still muted.
It's like talking.
I am.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Yeah, we presented for the Thomaston folks at 6:30, but if you have any questions about the project, we're just finishing up our break now. We'd be happy to answer them.
Well, I tuned in to find out specifically what it is the plan is and what is NVCOG implementing. So just give me a brief overview so I know what's actually here.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to go back a couple slides to that picture of the culvert. Basically, we're upgrading the drainage. We're proposing upgrading the drainage in 2 phases for selectmen. It's starting at the 30-inch pipe, the catch basin down on South Main Street, where you've got the 24-inch plastic pipe that your guys built tied in.
Yeah,
We
okay,
would go up the hill with a 30-inch pipe that's deeper and steeper. So we'd run it all the way to the top of Cables Lane and rebuild that existing head wall that's up there so it's a little bit deeper, and widen the channel a little bit coming into it, and add more catch basins and side pipes all the way down. So that we think would pass the 100-year flow from Hillside Cemetery and the surrounding neighborhood and alleviate the flooding at the top, the middle, and the bottom where they get all the ponding by the lawnmower repair place.
yes,
And then we have a second phase where we would update the line down in McMahon Drive past the DOT garage. But
okay,
we'd have to review that with the DOT and you folks to see if that was something you wanted. But that would actually update the entire line so the entire line could pass the 100-year storm.
okay. 100-year storm
So
would handle.
it
Okay,
would be a big project, but we think by breaking it into chunks, we are more likely to get funding for it.
okay. So you're seeking funding for the construction of all of this as well on our behalf?
Well, at this point, the construction would be a separate application done with the town and NVCOG, I guess.
Right, so this project brings us to the 30% designs and a funding matrix of possible grant opportunities will be provided to the town along with cost estimates and a draft grant narrative. But it will be up to the town and, potentially with some collaboration with NVCOG to pursue the implementation funds.
Okay, okay. But this is designed, I won't say design, that the intent is this all takes place without cost to the town of Thomaston?
Certainly, we would love to get a grant. There, the likely scenario is there will be some match required for the grant. But we would obviously do our best to work with you.
Yeah,
and
mitigate
pursue
that.
grants.
What percentage is usually the grant match on something like this? 20?
I couldn't begin to say that, but we will be getting a spreadsheet that has potential grant programs, and that's gonna have
Okay.
that information.
Okay, all right. Christine, my thought is that this is gonna carry over to the next administration. And as you are probably aware, I am leaving in November. I've chosen to retire, so this will have to be a conversation with the next administration as this begins to progress. It is certainly my intent to have whomever becomes the next first selectman. I know who my choice is, but we'll see how that plays out in the election. And I would get him I would be happy to come down and introduce him to all you guys before I exit the area to become a snowbird. So,
All right, well, thank you so much for Selectman Moon. We really appreciate it, and we'll be in touch about the project.
all right, very good. Yes, please keep me apprised. Thank you very much. Sorry that we miscommunicated. I read on my email that this was gonna start at 7 o'clock. So be that.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, and with that, we'll head back to the Waterbury slides and get started.
And I'll leave the meeting. Have a good evening.
All right, the Waterbury, North Walnut Street area, we were asked to look at basically everything from the south end of the road up to the north end of the road where it turns into Rhode Island Avenue. Variety of drainage issues. The south end of the road had better storm systems than the middle and the north end of the road, but that's, we went out and, did an inventory of what was out there and what problems we saw. Next slide, please. None of that area is in a mapped FEMA floodplain, but it obviously has street flooding problems and, street flooding. And, the city is working hard to try and come up with ways to fund various improvements. Next slide, please. The south end of North Walnut is a lot more developed and has some newer drainage down around by the teens, at the former school. Very densely developed residential neighborhoods, a lot of on-street parking, some sidewalks, but a lot of pavement everywhere. But the south end of the, neighborhood seems to have the better sidewalks, and better storm drainage. Next slide. As you work your way up, to the middle, there's a lot of, again, steep hillsides on the, east side of the road, and then the west side of the road, the grades drop off quite a bit going down toward the reservoir. There's a variety of storm outfalls. There have been places where the city has gone in and done, pavement repairs and new driveway aprons to try and control some of the runoff on the road. There's a lot of steep roads that come onto the road that have, misshapen crowns that, let water go across the crown of the road and possibly cause icing problems. There's some older drainage. There's the city engineer out hunting for one of the outfalls in the downhill side of the road. And he was a smart man wearing an orange vest because the traffic is very heavy there some days. Next slide, please. Working further up to the north end of the road, we're going past the driveway where the nursery drains down to the road and going toward Rhode Island Avenue. There's a lot of sediment builds up in some of the low points. Reported icing problems in a lot of areas. The junction with Ohio Avenue is very steep. A lot of pavement disrepair. A lot of erosion, so there's issues all up and down the road. Next slide, please. So we were trying to look and see where we could add extra inlets and extra piping, check piping to see if it was undersized, see if there are upgrades we could make. And what we could do to possibly reduce runoff coming down to the road from the neighborhoods on the east side. Next slide, please. So we have a series of maps. The new proposed drains are in red. The new proposed catch basins are in red. In some cases, what'd you say, Ron? We have some place where we're replacing tops in catch basins, but most of them we're replacing the catch basins entirely. There are some catch basins are in good condition. They're modern structures. They seem like they're in good shape. There's other ones that are older block catch basins where they're kind of falling apart or they have old grates on them. So a lot of those we're calling to replace. And what we're showing is on the south end by, where I'm at. My eyes, I gotta get my prescription upgraded. By Division Street, the intersection there, very busy intersection, but we would have to replace some pipes going across to bring them up to modern standards and add some, but the existing catch basins are in decent shape. Over by Branch Street, again, we have some areas where we would update pipes and bring them down to discharge, and that drains down. I'm sorry, there's about 9 separate drainage systems going up and down North Walnut Street. Each one has its own repairs. The next one up is up by Grigg Street, and that one we would be updating pipe sizes. We're generally, that one has an 18-inch pipe that's draining along the road. The 18-inch pipe is undersized for today's storms. Then we're proposing updating to a 24-inch pipe and putting in new catch basins along that. And that brings us up toward the middle, toward next slide. Yeah, so this shows areas all the way working our way up the road where we think pipes should get upgraded and new catch basins being added. We're also talking with the town about trying to do other things to improve the road, but we're focusing mostly on drainage for these plans. And trying to get everything so it works for the modern storms. There were 41. So, next slide, please. And this gets us up to Delford Road, which actually has some catch basins and some issues on it. The pipes seem like they're okay here, but this may be an area where, doing more pavement and intersection grading is appropriate. As you work your way up, there's a few places where we're calling for some existing pipes to be abandoned and new pipes put into existing outfalls to try and cut the water off so it's not going down the road and building up to erosive velocities on. This way, when it's released on the downhill side of the road, it's less chance for erosion. And we're calling for preformed scour holes and level spreaders in the downhill side of the road to try and contain that and lessen erosion going down toward the reservoir. And as we're working our way up toward Nicola Street, Nicola Street, there's a couple of drains going off there that we would be adding some catch basins and piping for, but the pipes themselves seem pretty good. As you go up more toward the nursery, that piping is undersized going north toward Rhode Island Avenue. That whole area has places where it could get upgraded. And next slide, please. The whole run going down toward Rhode Island Avenue, that pipe run would get replaced on the uphill side of the road and then have a new drainage outfall on the downhill side. So we're replacing significant runs of pipe are undersized. There's a number of catch basins that are in bad shape that need to be replaced. And there's a number of storm outfalls. Pretty much all the storm outfalls need some type of work on them. And we also know there's a lot of places where people are disposing of bulky waste and yard trash, and they're putting them down over the guardrail on the downhill side of the road, and it's probably makes it a little difficult to maintain some of the outfall areas. So we're gonna see if there's things we can do with the city to maybe make it easier to maintain those, because right now they're hard, they're kind of out of sight, out of mind. They're even hard for survey crews to get into with all the brush that's thrown down over the road. And there's a lot of trash problems, so we're trying to come up with some ways to collect some of that, but it's a pretty comprehensive system going all up and down the road. So if anybody has any questions or comments, love to hear them.
Good person. So when is is there any plan on when work may start on these projects? Is there even that being considered?
Take this one, yeah, so, I'm sorry for everyone who's heard me say this 4 times now, because we're, some folks
Yeah,
have been with us
4
from the beginning.
sections.
So, this is a project that brings us to 30% design. There's also a lot of reporting, wetlands delineation, a lot of, the sort of precursor planning work. But this, project does not bring us to construction. What we'll leave the city with is a bunch of different grants they can apply for and all the tools to apply for those grants.
We're in the infancy.
Yes, we are in the planning stages.
Okay,
Yes.
I've been a longtime resident on North Walnut Street, over 40 years. I own the house at 406 North Walnut Street,
Okay.
and I didn't hear you say, and you probably don't know because you mentioned out of sight, out of mind. And when there is a inlet on the side of the road between houses 428 and 448 North Walnut Street. And if you want, I could show you some pictures. It would probably be better that I show you some photographs. Wonderful, come over there.
Oh, not at all.
Sherry,
if you can give us some stations when you
Who wants to
identify.
take a look at these? I mean, everybody or somebody?
406.
Well, my house is 406. That's where the water and the ice run down in front of my house and other houses.
Yep.
But where the water is coming from, now this is some tale. I got a neighbor, John Rinaldi, who lives across the street from me, since he was probably since the 40s. An elderly gentleman. And this is 428 North Walnut. This is 448 North Walnut. And in between, there's this inlet of there's no house here, just a lot of filth.
Mhm.
There is a drain way back here somewhere that was already installed many, many years ago. John was telling me that it had to be CL&P before Eversource, that had a project going on somewhere on this stretch of the road. And they dumped a bunch of material in this inlet because it was not, they could put the stuff they needed to do the job. And it was a lot of gravel and dirt. And they dumped it all here while they were doing the project. They never cleared it out. So underneath, back here, underneath all this brush somewhere, there's already a drain that was working properly all those years. Because a lot of the water is coming down from Lamont Street. This is Lamont up here that leads to Delford, that comes down to North Lawn. And it comes down and it floods the road out. Now, here's a picture I took. Here's another shot. This is just another picture of that area. That's John's truck. He just parked it there. Wow. And here is a shot of what it looks like in the winter. That's all solid ice.
Okay.
And the city continuously, and we've complained to the city of Waterbury numerous times about this problem. And all they do, say, yeah, sure, we're having somebody look at it. You'll spend 20 years or more. And in the winter, this is all solid ice, right? And they bring the sand trucks up, dump a bunch of sand on it, right? You spend a lot of time cleaning this mess up in the winter. And then the plows come up and they gotta spend a lot of time just breaking the ice up with the plows, just to clean it up. And in the, this time of year, summer, fall, when it's a heavy downpours, it's a river of water. It's like a river going down from that area, which is where that picture I showed you before, is right this area right here. The water comes down and it makes this mess here. And when we have really bad rainstorms, this is my driveway, this is my driveway right here, in front of my house, 406. This is the water coming down from the back from Lamont Street.
Oh, over the retaining
Comes
wall?
down through my backyard. All the way down through my backyard, down to the side of my house and to my driveway. And that's like, look at that. That's ridiculous. This is my driveway. And now I didn't hear you mention that on your, when you were going to all the different spots that you were talking about. But I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. That it could probably be an easy fix without installing drains, seeing how there's one there already. And it just needs to be cleaned out. It needs to be found, actually.
No, there was a lot, there was a lot of growth.
It's
It was
very-
actually, we kept finding different things and we kept uncovering brush and,
Yeah, it's there. The infrastructure's already there. You don't even have to put anything in. I think if it's not too far gone at this point,
well, there's some stuff
but
like,
it might just be so clogged
over
over the decades. Or it needs a good cleaning, or it needs to have something new put in. I mean, maybe at this point, it might be so old that probably.
Part of this project, and as Terry was kind of showing the big picture, but is to add, we call them inlets, but they're catch basins. To get water out of the gutter and into the catch basin system and into a storm sewer that carries away, so that it's not just, the road lacks a proper drainage system.
Sure does.
And so normally catch basins have a spacing based on how much water is flowing to the road. But even if they don't have a large drainage area, every 200 feet or so, there should be a series of catch basins.
Okay.
And North
And you'll
Walnut
get me.
is lacking.
My house, that area will be a section. If you're going every
Right.
200 feet or so.
So rest
It's
assured,
so bad.
yeah.
It's so horrible.
Sir,
It's ridiculous.
If you could send, that's my email address, if you could send all those photos,
Sure.
we'll definitely make sure that they get it and.
Yeah, so because like obviously, if you're not there on a day where it's happening,
Right.
you won't see it. Like today, you could go up there and drive right by that area. And you won't notice anything, obviously, because it hasn't been raining or snowing a lot, but it's horrible. It's horrible. We've been begging the city of Waterbury. We never thought of this until came home last week, I see these flyers all over everybody's house. I'm like, what? I started reading it, and I was like, no kids.
That's his
You
fault.
gotta-
He
Yeah,
put
this
the
is,
flyers out.
No, that was great, because I was just gonna throw it in the garbage, what's this, Then I looked at it and I said, wow, this addressing is horrible. And like you said, around Rhode Island Avenue, where the road curves, North Walnut turns into Rhode Island and it curves, heading towards Lakewood, it all piles up in the corner down there. Like,
At the corner of Griggs
it's
too.
horrible.
At the corner of Griggs is just like your road.
Briggs, yeah.
Yep.
Because you can, it's like the pavement, it's always like, it's like driving on the moon.
Yeah, the road's trash.
The whole, though, I walk my dog and I don't see any catch basins except one.
Yeah,
Which is, which you can't use because it's
I'm gonna email.
non-usable.
And the address, just so
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
It's horrible, horrible.
And the address of the buried catch basin, I think would be important.
Well,
Unless
it's
you guys-
not an address, I can give you the houses
So-
in between these.
Oh, not way between two houses, that's a
Okay, you
jungle.
guys know our. Okay.
428
It's 428, and then the next house is 448. And in between those two addresses, that's 428, that's 448. In between is this. Right, and that's where the drain is. That was working all that time until they came and did a project and didn't clean it up properly.
So you're going up the hill, that's on the right hand side?
If you're at the south end of North Walnut, you go all the way up the hill and then flattens out on the top.
Yep.
It's like 5 or 6 houses to the right, on the right.
And there's a catch basin like 25, 30 feet up from it, which it's just, it's
That's what he's talking
they're
about.
all the way up.
Yeah.
So
John's
that's not
truck
even
is,
helping.
right?
If you
That's
go
what
a
he's
little
talking
bit
about.
further, yeah,
Yeah.
you go a little bit further, there's no high rise.
In this
Horrible.
town.
Yeah.
So I mean, we
Down.
could add
And then,
a catch basin on, we'll look at that.
I didn't even think that was the.
I did wanna acknowledge.
there's another street at the bottom when you go right, it's Connecticut Ave. And that's like, I don't know anybody that goes, the plows don't go there, nobody goes there.
I did want to acknowledge, Andrea, or Andrea, I apologize if I mispronounced, has a question online. Feel free to unmute.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So we don't live on North Walnut Street, but we do have a farm there, and I actually see one of my neighbors, Cindy, she's there as well. So we actually have cameras installed on that main road on North Walnut Street, and we have videos that we can happily share with everyone on how bad it is every time that it downpours. Like on Saturday afternoon, we knew that a storm was coming, but we didn't know how heavy and how quickly the downpour was going to be. And I mean, if you see the videos, you believe that a hurricane is going through the property. But not only that, so when the water comes from top of the hill, because that corner of North Walnut Street and Massachusetts Avenue, like that, right at the stop sign, that drainage is always overflowed. And it's usually by the amount of dirt or the amount of debris or the amount of whatever have you that is always sitting on top of that. Mind you, we try to clean it most of the time. Like we actually go out there with our machines and we clean it, like just to make sure that it's not clogged. I mean, above the surface, of course, not inside the piping or anything like that. But we just wanted, basically at this point, we just want to know, where is the city in all of this? Like, what's the plan? Because I know that you guys have talked about that right now we are in the premature infancy stages of all of this, which is great. And we really appreciate everything you guys are doing. But what is the city perception in all of this? Because they are aware of these issues because we have contacted them many times. But what is their take in all of this? Like, what is their perception? What's going to happen next? That's what we want to know.
So I obviously can't speak on behalf of the city. We work for the region here, but what I can tell you is the next steps, right? So at the end of September, we finish this project and we hand a big packet to the city, and that has these plans that we've talked about. It has a 200-page report of a bunch of background information that informs these plans. And then it also has a list of different grant programs, mostly at state and federal level, that could fund implementation. And they'll also get some tools to help them write the grant, like we'll have a draft narrative for them, so it'll be a little easier. But once we hand that over to the city, it's sort of in their hands, and we also know that right now, federal funding is kind of in flux, so that's an additional challenge that they would need to look at. I hope that's answered your question.
Let me also add to that, the city has identified this as a problem, and that's why North Walnut Street was selected for their study. They asked the city of Waterbury to pick a nuisance drainage problem that you have, and here we are studying it, and studying it, I dare say, is the first part towards a solution, so. You have their attention.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Is this the nursery owner?
Yeah, the lavender farm, right? I
Yeah.
remember that last
Yeah.
time.
And they did a lot on their own property for drainage, because their property was draining down, they asphalted it, put in a drainage system on their own, so they did a lot of work on their own part to alleviate the problem, they should get credit for that.
We,
Yeah, remember, you
that
were
is
those
the
people
way-
that came out in the pouring rain.
we have
Thank
already
you.
invested our own package. We have already invested around 50 grand, I want to say, in our own drainage solution issues. Yes.
It's a beautiful farm.
Thank
I've been
you.
there.
Thank you.
You selling that produce up there?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah? We
Tomato,
got
pepper,
tomatoes. Okay,
pepper, onions, what else? Eggplant, zucchini,
nice.
cucumbers, yes. Squash, yes. Eggs, we have a lot
All
of.
right.
Come and see the baby
Thank-
goat. You will love them.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else with comments or questions related to the Waterbury project?
I have. All the catch basins on North Walnut Street. We're all on the top, the high side. There's nothing on the low side, and the water just runs down the road, and wherever it dumps off, it dumps off. And certain sections of the road is washing the roadway.
Yeah, we've noted that. The lack of inlets is as much a problem as the capacity of the pipe. And so adding inlets, catch basins on both sides are part of the design solution, and going all the way up the hill at a proper interval to intercept water that makes its way to from the yards to the road, then it runs in the gutter, it then has to get into a catch basin inlet into the pipe system. If there's no inlets, then it's washing out the gutter, as you see now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it degrades the pavement structure. I mean, it's a
a mess.
domino effect of.
The mess. Now that video I showed you of all that water coming over the wall, hitting the driveway and then going into the street. I had to go up, way up in the back behind my property. It goes up quite a ways, and then there's woods. And I had to go up there with a couple guys and dig a big trench to divert the water so it doesn't come over and spill into my backyard and it cause a problem like that, because that's how bad it is.
When it
I'm up
rains
there,
bad
with-
enough,
I'm
it
up
comes
there
right
with shovels
over
and it's
or-
crazy.
They put that new asphalt and curbing, it comes up over the curbing onto my property, then almost into my front door, because my front door is below street level. I have video of that, I'll get your email,
Oh, yeah.
because it, like, I'm out there blowing with freaking
Well, the
blower,
curbing
to
helps a
keep it from
lot.
coming.
Yeah,
And sweeping it, because we're down below street
Right,
level.
there's a stretch of homes that are actually below the street grade.
And it comes over the
Yeah.
curb that they put, which the curb takes a lot of it, but over the curb that they put into, then it goes into the yard. It's fun.
What street number are you?
553. Yeah, I'll send her the address and the video. I mean, they did put the curbing up for me, which helped a lot. But, you know, in the rain, I do get flooded, and all the debris from up the street comes onto my property, so I have leaves and litter and.
Not only that, they put the curbing in front of her property where they stopped. Now that's it, it's just all washed now.
Well, I'll send,
Whose property that is, and that's where the road
Thank you.
really starts to fall apart.
Aren't so you?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll send her the video just to, so that way you can show them that what is needed.
Okay,
Harry, you mentioned, earlier about some infrastructure on the hillside, with the outflow going down to prevent erosion on the hill before the,
Yeah, we're looking at adding some scour hole, where needed as scour holes into level spreaders. There are some there in the system, but not a lot. And like I said, a lot of the areas, particularly you go further north, it's kind of hard to get at the outfalls just because of all the stuff that people have
Yeah.
thrown over the
Yes.
guardrail. I don't know if people are dumping in the
Mattress
neighborhood or what
Oh,
it
please.
is. but-
oh, it's people just,
But a lot of the runoff comes from Delford Road
it's a
down.
dump yard.
Ever since he cut the trees and he put up a driveway there and he tried to, there was some curbing and new drainage that they put up there. But for some reason, still from Delford Road, it comes down.
Yeah.
So,
It was actually used to be a lot worse, actually, right? I mean, still, people are throwing garbage,
Yeah,
like
oh.
dumping.
I went
People
down
are
there one
dumping.
year, I picked up 11 bags of garbage and 11 tires I
Yeah,
dragged
oh,
out
yeah.
of there.
Tires, refrigerators, mattresses, the usual crap people don't want to take to the dump or.
Okay, do we have any further questions or comments from Waterbury?
We're good.
we're good.
Alrighty, thank you so much, everyone who came out tonight virtually and in person. At this time, we'll shift over to the Wolcott project, and I see we have a Wolcott's engineer and a Wolcott resident online with us tonight.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for coming. All right, so for Wolcott, the project is at Ransom Hall Road by Woodtick Rd. It's a 66-foot diameter culvert that was damaged on Lindsay Brook during Hurricane Ida, and the town did a lot of repairs for emergency repairs, some of which are still in place today. Next slide, please. Lindsay Brook is a mapped FEMA floodplain. It has detailed mapping all the way down, and it collects runoff from Wolcott Center all the way down toward the Scoville Reservoir. Next slide, please. And Alex.
Yeah,
you wanna
I'll
say
take it
some stuff about the
Yeah,
screen?
absolutely. So, my name is Alex Crotta. I work for Safe the Sound, our regional environmental organization. You might be wondering why we're concerned about, infrastructure, but, we're very interested in where, infrastructure and the environment kind of overlap and how we can come up with solutions that, benefit both. Next. You can skip that slide. So here we are talking about culverts. It turns out that the culverts that are bad for fish and wildlife are also bad for roadways and communities. So when bridges and culverts are too small, they block fish passage, they block aquatic organisms and other wildlife from getting to and fro where they need to go, but also they're more prone to overtopping, they're more prone to erosion, and eventually, in some cases, failure. Next. I won't go too much into this, but we're also interested in increasing natural infiltration through green infrastructure. So using rain gardens that act like a sponge versus pavement that acts like a plate. Using Jeff's analogy here. Next slide. And then we're also interested in increasing the capacity of natural lands to flood. Rivers are made to flood. That's what they do seasonally. We don't like that, and so we try to kind of hem them in. And in some cases, that's what we need to do, but where we can actually allow rivers to flood naturally out under their natural floodplains, we want to support their ability to do that. So those are just some of the principles that we're working with, but I'll go into this site specifically. Next. So a little bit of formatting here, but well, basically what we want to tell you is that when we're looking at trying to recreate the stream channel through the culvert, we go out and we take some data. It's similar in many ways to what a normal engineering study would do in terms of gathering information about the culvert itself. But we're also looking at the morphology of the natural stream channel, both upstream and downstream. So we're taking survey shots. We're also taking, stream sketches. We're doing, pebble counts to characterize the substrate, in that stream channel. And then I also want to point out that at this exact site, we found, eggs that we did some research on and determined that they were, eggs for a northern two-line salamander. So that would be one of the many species that would benefit if this culvert were to be retrofit, with a more ecologically suitable, solution. Next. So down there on the bottom in the circled in orange, we came up with our kind of Rolls Royce of culvert options from an ecological standpoint. Very large, very tall culvert that would really encapsulate not just the active channel that you see every day, but some floodplain and bank width to allow that river to go up and down during the seasons. Obviously, that was maybe not super feasible after talking with the folks at Luke's here. And what we kind of settled on was this a smaller option. So 16, that's a typo, that's a 16-foot width by 7-foot high culvert, box culvert, and actually talked about doing a 3-sided box, which is even better for the species that live in that stream bed. And that's just a little diagram showing you what that difference would look like if you're looking upstream. So that would be, you can see it's quite a difference, quite a bigger opening for fish and wildlife and also stream flows. Next. And then getting into a little more detail of what the stream would be like that we would design through the box culvert itself. So we'd be looking at creating a series of steps where the water would flow over a series of boulder, not waterfalls, but small steps to step the stream channel down, and also maintain some of that natural substrate. So it's a series of steps about 6 inches high, spaced about 13 feet. And then also we came up with a prescription for what the substrate in that culvert would be like. And these are some illustrative diagrams to kind of show you kind of what that would look like. And from there, I think I'll pass it back to Luke's.
Thank you. Sure. Yeah, as Alex said, we did the survey. We picked up Alex's cross sections. We surveyed the culvert in its current conditions. We surveyed the road, and we got some of the drainage upstream. Ransom Hall Rd connects with Woodtick Rd, which was taken over by the state in the, I think, 1930s or some of the records we have, and they have subsequently released it back to the town, but a lot of the road drainage dates from the 30s. I don't know when the 6-foot culvert went in, but I believe it was overtopped in Hurricane Ida in 3 or 4 years ago. But downstream, Lindsay Brook is a very nice stream. It has a good candidate for having fish habitat. And it's a good candidate for doing something like this with a slightly larger culvert. Next slide, please. That's a picture of the culvert in its current conditions. The town did temporary repairs on it, still there today. 6-foot culvert can catch treetops and trunks, and they clog. And that probably was one of the things that contributed to its getting overtopped. You can see a pretty good rack line of debris on the upstream side of the culvert, and some areas where the banks were cleared out due to high velocities along the stream, where it's funneling down to go through the 6-foot culvert. Next slide, please. And that's our survey that we prepared with the stream cross sections that we did in conjunction with Save the Sound. Next slide, please. And we also looked at upstream culverts. The town engineer was very helpful in getting us some data on upstream projects the town had done. And this is the recent repair that was done last year by the town at Upton Road. They put in 3 48-inch culverts. And further downstream, the state, I believe in 2013, replaced a culvert there with 2, I want to say 10 by 5-foot box culverts. Those have gravel bottoms in them. And both of those projects have bigger open area than the current Ransom Hall culvert. So we were trying to not only pass FEMA flows, but check the FEMA study to see if the flows that were in the study were still current with current rainfall data and current watersheds, and we did that. Next slide, please. And we came up with a variety of options. The flows are a little bit higher than the current FEMA flow for the 100-year storm, but the FEMA flows actually are still pretty current today. Even though there's been development upstream, I think were conservative in some ways when they sized their flows years ago, but we came up with a 16 by 7 foot culvert that we think meets most of the environmental requirements for open area ratios and matching existing stream width that Alex had talked about a little bit. We also looked at doing options where you did 2 smaller box culverts side by side, because that was something the Public Works Director had asked us to look at. We went with the larger culvert just because it is probably less prone to clogging with debris than having twin side by side culverts, and would be less maintenance for the town. We also looked at larger culverts that would give them an even wider open area underneath the road embankment, but we're trying to find something that would be cost effective for getting a grant for the town and NVCOG. So we settled on the 16 by 7 as the good alternative in the middle, and went with a 3-sided box because that gave the best options for doing a stream bed restoration that would work with the fisheries restoration and stream continuity that, say, the Sound was looking at. And we think that helps put the town's project in a better position to get a grant from the DEP or other organizations that may be good funding sources. So we try to incorporate both the environmental side of it along with the hydraulics and the engineering side. So we think this is the best alternative for the town to propose, but we will review that with the town staff and make sure they're all on board with it, and give them the cost estimates and this engineering studies so they can look at themselves. Any more slides after this, or is that it? Oh, there was one more. So this is the example that Alex had there a little bit. We have the existing culvert on the left-hand side, the 6 foot, with the proposed 7 by 16 by 7 culvert. The Ransom Hall Road stays the same. There may be some utilities that get tweaked a little bit, but everything on the road stays the same. There would have to be a probably a temporary detour for construction, but this is designed to be as low impact to the neighbors as possible. And there are ways to detour around this, but it could also have alternating one-way traffic. But I think it would have a fairly short construction period to get this in. It seems like it's very limited. We also looked at some of the drainage that one of the neighbors mentioned during the public hearing. There are some drains upstream that seem like they're kind of prone to clogging and maybe could, again, these are drains that were built in the 30s when Woodtick Rd was a state project. Possibly upsize one of the road pipes underneath the road and possibly fix up some of the inlets so they're less prone to clogging. Right now, it's I think a DG inlet with a wooden grate over the top of it, so I could see where that can get clogged up in a big storm. But I think we could propose something there that would fit in with the project to lessen that drainage that the neighbor reported. So that's it. If there's any questions, we're happy to answer them.
So I see that Mark and Donna are online. Donna has said she'll be a silent observer, so if Donna, if you want to put something in the chat, I'll be happy to speak on your behalf. And Mark, the engineer, may be just listening in as well.
Yeah, we will review that with Mark Provost and with the Public Works Director to make sure they're all set with it, but this would bring the whole project up so the road now meets the 100-year FEMA floodplain with a cushion. And the 500-year flood could overtop the road, but that could be accommodated with one of the larger box culvert options, but we wanted to give the town the middle one, just because we thought that is the most applicable to getting funding.
Just to be clear, the 100 years design is the current appropriate criteria for this.
Yeah.
500 years of luxury.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
I had the thing shut off. Mark Quasinetto, Wolcott engineer. Obviously, we got to take a look at the plans, but it looks great to me. You know, I guess my major interest is where we're going to get the money.
Yeah, so part of the scope of this project is that Luke's has identified a list of funding sources of grants at the federal and state level, specifically that your project would be eligible for. And they've put together some tools like drafting a grant narrative to help get you part of the way there. So we're looking forward to handing that off to you, and NVCOG will remain involved to the extent that if Wolcott wants to partner with other towns to go for federal grants, or if you need some technical assistance for us, we're definitely open to helping you.
One other question. Realistically, how long do you think before this project gets funded? And I guess the follow-up question is, should we do something to the jury-rigged kind of repairs if we got to wait, 5 or 10 years?
So I'll just answer the first part of the question about how long. You'll have everything you need from Luke's and NVCOG by the end of this month. It's totally up to the town of Wolcott how you want to pursue that, if you want to prioritize it. I do acknowledge that federal funding is challenging at the moment, and there's a lot of changes going on. But it really will be in your hands at that point.
As far as, there's no easy repairs, right? There's no easy solutions, that aren't, intrusive and costly. You'd have to open up your road and put a second culvert in just to get you an additional flow area, but that's not the long-term solution.
I think, for short-term stuff, there are some things you can do, to kind of keep an eye on it regarding trees blocking the existing culvert, Mark. I don't know how they do visual checks on that. And maybe some things to shore up some of the temporary repairs a little bit for the traffic barriers and things at the top of the road. If this takes a year or two, but we're trying to get a package together that the Board of Selectmen could maybe take action on, and I'm going for grant applications this fall. How quick those take, I don't know.
I
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Me, Mark?
Yeah, go for it.
I guess I'm concerned. We just finished redoing Beach Road, and I applied, my original application was in 2014. So sometimes the government works a little bit slow sometimes. Anyways, it looks like a good job. And I assume, when are we going to meet? Are you going to schedule something? How's that going to work? You're going to
Yeah, I
send
can
us
go
the
ahead
information
tomorrow
first?
and we can set something up.
All right, very good.
Thank you, Mark. I see Paul raised his hand.
Yeah, I have a question of Mark. You sound like you're concerned about this. How soon would you want to act on it? Would you want to try to submit an application, a proposal or something, like by the end of the year?
If that would be possible. I mean, application under what? LoadSIP, under, the other DOT programs? I don't know where you want to go.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a handful of projects funding sources we're aware of, but I don't know which ones have deadlines coming the fastest. So, I would have to look into that. I mean, if the town is really, kind of gung ho to get something going and didn't need a whole lot of assistance from like Save the Sound, then we certainly could give you the information and try to help you sort of tee you up for whichever ones are the most, have the quickest coming deadline and most viable options for this site.
Yeah, as you know, unfortunately, we're one big storm away from that thing going by.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'd hate for that to, and when that does happen, then you're gonna be stuck with like an emergency repair, in which case you'll probably be forced to do an in-kind replacement, which is like exactly what we don't want you to do.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad you're here, glad you expressed this interest. I work with Alex at Save the Sound, and, I think, what I'll do is take a closer look at the funding sources that we're aware of and make sure that they make it into Luke's, report and try to see which ones have deadlines, maybe, coming before the end of the year.
Thank you.
I have a question for Mark. I see a lot of, when we were there, we saw a lot of traffic going across, going over that culvert. Is that a major route or is that a major emergency route? I'm looking at the map and just seeing that there are other ways around.
We could close that road easily. It's a convenient, if you're coming like up from Southington and up the mountain and then on East Street as you come down, if you want to go on Woodtick South, you cut across at Ransom Hall. And that cuts you, and that just saves you from going a little bit farther to the main intersection between Center and Woodtick and then take a left. But that's not that inconvenient. That would not be a problem.
Thank you. Oh, I had another question. We had talked about, Terry and Paul and I had talked about, your internal capabilities of installing larger, wider culverts. What's your limit? Do you have a sense of what your limit is in terms of what you guys can put in with your own staff?
You mean in terms of public works?
Yeah.
We can do pretty good. I mean, I don't think they've done box culverts, but any other kind of conduit they can handle.
Okay.
And Donna had asked a question in the chat, but I think we already answered that when we were speaking with Mark about timeline for the project. So with that, we have, oh, sorry, Mark, did you have anything else?
I'm all set.
Great. Okay, with that, we'll wrap our meeting up. Thanks, the stragglers who stuck with us to the end, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
Oh, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Alex, this was one of